Good morning and welcome to the Vermont Department of Corrections Connections podcast. Today I am here with Cindy Lack. She is the Peer Support and Wellness Coordinator for the Office of Professional Standards and Compliance. How's it going, Cindy?
Good. Thanks for having me, Wayne.
Yes, of course. Glad to have you. It's a beautiful day today.
It's gorgeous. It was a nice ride up.
Yes, looking forward to appreciating it this afternoon.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So, you're here for peer support. We're talking about peer support today. To start, I'd like you kind of to walk me through your career path. How did we get here?
I started at Marble Valley as an officer right out of college. My parents had both worked for the state. I knew it was a great gig. I also knew I could not save money for retirement. So I wanted a job with a pension. That's how I got in the door.
Yeah.
Started as an officer at Marble Valley, moved into casework after that. That was, I spent some time working on unit programs and developing some programs inside, and then went to the field as a probation officer and continued with some of that work and just watched people struggle in their career. Corrections wasn't as friendly as it is now in the early days of my career. I started in 1988, so that's a long time ago.
Yes.
Things have changed dramatically, and I'm happy to see that.
100%. Even starting, I came in 2007, and so just from then till now, it's been huge differences with initiatives and all the effort that have been put in towards, well, I work for recruitment and retention, right? So like there's a pretty heavy focus on bringing new staff in, but also making them happy, which was never the case.
No, we did not take care of our own very well in the old days, and we're so much better at that now.
Yes.
And it's great. People have a decent career now and enjoy coming to work a lot more.
Yes. Yep, progress.
Yep, progress.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Awesome. So how long were you in the facility?
8.5 years.
Okay, and then you went to probation
and parole.
And how long have you been in this role?
I've been in this role 3 years last month.
Okay. Yeah, so not that long in the grand scheme of things. Yeah.
Yeah. We've come a long way in that amount of time, and it's a great thing that we're doing for folks.
Yes.
And I like it a lot.
Well, the fact that it's a position, right?
Yeah, I fought for 2 years to make it a position. I was a team leader for peer support and a probation officer at the same time, and it was too much.
Right.
It's just too much. There's so much work to be done with peer support that it was really impeding my ability to be a good PO. So I pushed really hard to, peer support team leader needs to be a full-time job.
Yeah.
2 years, and it finally became a thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
it's a great thing.
Okay. So how long have you been part of peer support?
You asked me that, and I never know the answer. 7-ish years.
Yeah.
I use COVID as the reference because COVID is what really put peer support on the map.
Sure.
People weren't really aware that we had a team and what we were doing. COVID really, we all thought we were going to die, and so we did everything we could to try to support people, and that's what really opened the door for peer support with staff.
COVID and now, I hate the reflection of COVID, right? Because it's such a timestamp thing, but it really did a significant number on corrections staff throughout the country.
Absolutely.
Just the perceptions of what that was going to look like and stuff. So yes, it definitely added to the appeal for using peer support as a mechanism to help people through that difficult time.
Absolutely. Nobody knew how to be or how to manage that, and we stepped in and helped people sort of wrap their heads around what needed to be done and how we needed to do things, and just supported folks through that because it was a scary time for everybody.
Right. So what aspects of what so I want you to think back to, like, I don't know if there was a preparation period for like mulling over whether or not you wanted to join peer support or not, but in that time frame leading up to you applying to be on peer support, what aspects of peer support were you drawn to or appealed to you?
I'm a therapist at heart.
Yeah.
I'm a licensed substance abuse counselor, and that's sort of my gig. And I really just wanted to help people manage some of the stressors of working in corrections. It wasn't available for me when I was struggling, and I don't want anybody else to have that struggle without somebody to go to. And no one understands corrections like corrections folks.
Sure.
So talking to people outside of corrections was not helpful.
Right.
Because all they wanted to hear was the gory stories.
Right.
And the war stories.
Yeah.
Staff don't want to have to do that when they're looking for some support or for some help with something.
Right.
That's why it works really, really well. We understand each other.
Yeah, listen to me, don't guide the conversation with what interests you in or about it.
Right.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, that background definitely makes sense as far as that, entering the department and saying, how can I help out more?
Mm-hmm.
Having the background that you did or do. Definitely probably translates pretty well to different levels of understanding.
It does. It does. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, for the people that aren't overly familiar or aren't already on the team, what is peer support?
We're a team of folks who have full-time jobs within the department in various areas. And if somebody's struggling with stress from the job or personal issues, just need somebody to talk to, that's us. We can help. We help people help themselves. We can connect folks with resources if they're in crisis. We reach out, check in with folks after something has maybe happened at a facility or something's gone wrong with something on their caseload, just to provide folks that encouragement and support for the work that they're doing.
Okay. How often are you interacting with people, or is your team? Well, okay, let me back up. How is the team set up? Like regionally, or?
The state's divided into 3 regions: Northeast, Northwest, and South.
Right.
Which is really helpful when we're tracking our data, so that it doesn't narrow down a specific site.
Sure.
Each area has its own squad leader, who's sort of responsible for organizing that area and is a good point person for facilities and offices in that area. They can reach out to the squad leader. It's usually someone they know and are familiar with. Sorry.
That's okay.
And then there's squad members underneath them.
Okay.
Who work in those areas. Or we have some folks who have a central office job, but they live in southern Vermont, so they're on the southern squad because that's where they would be responding from.
So it's based on proximity more than work site per se?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's sort of a mix of both.
Yeah.
Staff don't necessarily want to talk to a stranger, somebody that they don't know, so talking to somebody who's regional to them can be helpful. Some staff don't want to talk to anybody that might know them.
Right. I was just going to say.
So it makes a difference.
Sometimes they might request, correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes they might request to connect somebody that they have zero experience with or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People can request whatever kind of personality maybe or characteristics. People have different issues. I try to match as best I can when I'm reached out to match a supporter with what I know is happening with somebody.
Yes. And
so that there's some understanding of what the situation is without having to just educate me on what your issues are.
Right. Well, we talked about that earlier, actually. So, like, individuals who have, and very specific because of my experience, veterans. Mm-hmm. Someone with, prior military service might benefit from being connected with someone with prior military service who
absolutely
has a better
particularly veterans, because veterans want to talk to their own.
Yeah,
and that makes sense to me.
Yeah, just like corrections.
Corrections wants to talk. Wants to talk to its own. We have a pretty diverse team. People from all different kinds of backgrounds, personal histories, different races, different cultures, different everything. So awesome. It's a pretty easy for me to match somebody with somebody on the team.
Yep, and that matters.
Absolutely. It's so much easier to talk to someone that you're comfortable with.
For sure.
And that's what we're all about, is trying to make things, we're about staff and trying to make things easier for staff and help staff manage stuff that's happening for them.
How big is the team?
Right now, there are 27 members. We have a couple who are inactive. Folks can request time off from the team, which happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes we deal with some heavy stuff. Sometimes people's jobs are overwhelming them for a moment or whatever, and take a break. That's fine. I encourage that. Sometimes being a peer supporter can be a heavy lift, and so the folks on the team can just take a break.
Yeah. Well, you talked about prior to the position even being created, being a probation officer, and also working on peer support. And I'm sure people in that position know all positions can be pretty cumbersome at times.
Absolutely.
And so to have this added responsibility of kind of taking on the weight of someone else's problems can
Yeah, it can really weigh somebody down. It can really have an impact on them. So we take care of the team as well. We take care of each other.
Yep.
So that we're a good functioning team. We have some great clinical support. We have Lori Gurney and Beth Jacobs are our contracted clinicians.
Yeah.
So we have clinical support, and they are also available to staff.
And is that kind of like their role? They work for DOC, correct?
They're contractors.
Okay.
So they're not classified employees, so they have nothing to do with sort of the rank and structure of the department, which is really beneficial for a lot of folks.
Yes.
Folks kind of get a little weirded out by talking to somebody that they think might have some impact on their career.
So just kind of what you were talking about, when you look at peer support, like connecting with a fellow DOC staff member has its benefit.
Yes.
Has this good feeling about it, or this openness based on experiences. However,
Yes.
when we're talking about a higher level of care, sometimes it's beneficial to reach out to somebody who's not connected with the
Absolutely.
network.
Lori's specialty is uniform services, so she really understands what it is that uniform services go through. Corrections is just a piece of that.
Awesome.
So it's not difficult for her to wrap her head around
Okay.
what we do.
Yeah. I mean, her experience
Yeah.
price
It's
connects
really
well.
helpful.
Yeah,
It's
for
really
sure.
and Beth is great. She's located in, I think, Williston.
Yeah.
Lori's out of Springfield.
Are they split up regionally, or?
I think that's just because that's where they are.
Okay. So, like, the southern part, or the team or squad that's in the southern part of the state doesn't connect to one over the other specifically?
It depends on where the staff member is located.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So if somebody's from the western side of the state, we'll probably slide them to Beth. They all go through Lori, and then Lori sort of
Oh, okay.
does that.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
There's like this tri-region through the state, and then when you talk to a higher level of care, it's split up.
It's split up, yeah.
Yeah, in halves. That's
Yeah.
kind of. I guess you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
So you said 27 people on the team right now?
Yes.
Okay. What does recruitment look like for team members? So if somebody was interested in being a peer support member, what does that process look like for them?
Well, we recruit generally in the spring and the fall, just
Okay.
because that is what the time frame works out like, because everything has a cycle to it.
Sure.
I'll send out a department-wide email, many of them, hey, peer support's recruiting, attach a copy of the application. Over time, there's been some regular questions, so I've made an FAQ sheet that I attach to that email to try to maybe answer some of those questions for folks.
Okay.
They complete the application, have their manager sign off on it, so that's kind of a twofold thing. One is to let their manager know that they're interested in taking on this, and two, if their manager has an issue with somebody being on the team, because sometimes there might be a work performance issue, or
Sure.
there's some issue that manager might not.
Yeah, I've heard
I think
that.
that's a great fit. So
With any special team or any extra duty, the reality is like you have to be competent in the job that you are responsible for performing before we're going to give you extra responsibility.
correct.
Or privileges.
Right.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be good at what you do first.
Yes.
And before you try to apply. Absolutely. Okay. And so let's say
Once we get the application, sorry, I didn't mean
Yeah.
to cut you off.
No, it's okay. Jumping
There's an
ahead.
interview process.
Yeah.
So it depends on who's available at that point. to be on the interview panel. We'll have interviews, make our selection, and then present who we think we want to invite to the team, present that to the rest of the team, see if there's people know anything. Sometimes there's, stuff in someone's history or how they really are at work.
Sure.
That doesn't come out in an interview.
Right.
And those things are important. If you're not a kind person
yeah.
in your daily activities, that's probably not a good fit for the team.
Right.
So present that to the folks on the team. They give us some feedback, and then we make our selection.
Sure.
And we invite folks, and they can, at that point, say, yeah, I thought about this, but it might not be for me.
Okay. So now they're selected. And yes, we're going to measure whether or not, because that matters. You can't be a really mean-hearted person on the day-to-day and expect to be an advocate for support for your team members. That just doesn't make sense.
Folks aren't going to want to talk to you about their stuff.
Yeah, and it's more about whether or not you can do the job. That's not what matters. What matters is, are people going to want to talk to you?
Right.
And so
that's important.
Yeah, that's probably a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. It is a big deal.
So you have that individual who is a rock star, does all the things, they get selected, and then what does training or informational stuff look like for that person moving forward to be part of the team?
Lori is our instructor for critical incident stress management. So we follow the critical incident stress management protocols. It's a 3-day training. We squeeze it into 3 days. The first day is working with individuals. So there's a baseline of just this is how we support people and how to do it well and the steps that need to be taken. And then there's a day of working with groups. So if there's a critical incident that occurs in a facility, we can gather those people who were involved in that and help them through the process of moving from where they are after that critical incident into a better space to get back to work.
Okay.
And it's a very protocoled approach, and it's not scripted, but there's actual steps that we need to go through, and Lori is part of that. So there's a clinician involved in that.
Yeah.
And during that process, we assess whether or not someone needs a little extra support or help or whatever it is they need.
Naturally.
And then we follow up with the folks. So it's not just a one and done and you're on your own now. We continue that contact.
Okay. So you've got your initial training and then there's generally follow up. How often do you guys meet?
We meet in person on the even-numbered months because I like things to be easy to remember. Yeah. So the even-numbered months, we get together, we meet, we do team development and process reviews in the morning, and in the afternoon we train on all different kinds of topics, how to deal with someone who's dealing with grief, just any kind of whatever instance that we might come across that folks might want some more education on or team members want education on. Team members present information as well as Lori, and we do have an actual trainer for the team. They can come up with some stuff for us as well.
Is that someone in the team or someone outside?
Yep. Okay. No, it's somebody from the team. We try to be a self-sufficient team. Sure. So we've, I'm working on trying to get somebody who has some admin skills because we need an admin person for some of the stuff that we do, and everybody has a job. We have admins as part of OPSC. That's a huge responsibility for Jody, and so I don't want to add more to her plate if it's something that we can do ourselves.
When you think about the building blocks of all of it, it can sound like a lot, but if it's categorized, like for instance, like you have your day-to-day job.
Yes.
And you're on peer support, so that's an added thing.
Yes.
Which my experience, and I don't want to speak for anybody else, but anybody that's on the team tends to speak highly about that experience. With that being said, when you talk about admins, people who focus on administrative things for the team or technological things for the team, that's another added
layer for them. Yes.
Which I don't imagine it's not like a full-time job to be an admin for peer support.
No.
But it is a thing that the team probably would benefit from.
Absolutely, because
But-
we do all kinds of things. You know,
Sure.
we're making posters. We're trying to be creative with how we present our information to staff at large. We've got an equipment officer
Okay.
responsible for getting us our shirts.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that's really our only equipment.
Right.
It's not like we're not like SRT. We don't have lots of gizmos to fool around with.
Right.
But
You don't bring trinkets or anything to critical incidents or anything.
Not-
where
not
you
usually.
check in, no smelling salts.
no,
just
no.
Okay.
But we all have a shirt so that when we go places, people can easily identify us, particularly if we're responding to a critical incident. And
Sure.
folks at that work site might not be familiar with everyone. It's really helpful to just have some identifier, especially when we just show up at the door.
Right.
And some staff don't necessarily know, like, who's that
Right.
strange person?
Yeah, and you don't want to get mixed up with somebody else that
Might be
that
doing
there
another
for
thing.
something else.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, so what are the what does an actual call out look like? Like, let's say, just circumstantially, something happens at one of our locations that is traumatic or could be considered traumatic. What
Yes.
is the expectation of the peer support team and or the members that respond?
So something happens. I'm just gonna pick a place.
Okay, Rutland,
Rutland.
Marble Valley.
Marble Valley. Okay, so I would get in touch with the Southern Squad leader
Yep.
and say something happened. Get some people there. And so their responsibility is to gather their team members. If they can't get enough people because of job duties or something else is going on, they reach out to the next closest squad leader
Sure.
to try to get some of their folks in.
Yep.
Rutland's probably not a great example because
know
my
you
office
live
is
there.
right down the
As
street,
soon as I said
and
it,
I'm
I was-
usually right there
Yeah.
anyway, which is fine. I show up at as many things as I can get to,
Yeah.
because it's important,
Right.
and it's my responsibility. I feel to make sure that I'm there and that there's team members there and that everybody's comfortable. It's creepy when you're new on the team and you go to a place, because we set up generally in the break room
Yeah.
and kind of just for a little while sit there
Yeah.
waiting for folks to drop by.
Right.
If that's not really happening, if there's someone who can actually relieve people on the team, I've not kept up with my core comps. It's been a long time since I've worked in a facility.
Sure.
We've got plenty of line staff who can provide relief, or at least walk around. We can all
Yeah.
walk around a facility and check in with folks and just say, hey, we're here. We're not expecting anybody to talk in their unit because that would be weird.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When there's confidentiality.
Yeah,
in
confidentiality
dealing
is
with the
huge.
population.
And people aren't gonna want to talk.
Right.
But we do walk around, introduce ourselves, let folks know who we are and where we are, and so they can come if somebody needs relief and we don't have anybody who's responded who can do that. I have great connections with all the SOSs.
Yeah.
And relief will happen, and people can come in and chat with us. We'll take them to a place that's not public.
Right.
If there's nobody else in the break room and they're fine talking there, great, because that's a comfortable
Kinda
place.
on their-
It's a comfortable
what
place
they
for
wanna
folks.
do.
It's whatever is most comfortable for
Yeah.
the person, not us.
Right.
It's about staff and what works for staff.
Sure. So that's an incident. Great. And that's specific to like a critical incident at a facility or something significant.
Something
happened.
significant. We responded to all different kinds of things. Field offices have stuff
Sure.
that we respond to, and we go there as well.
And that's the response aspect. And I know we touched on that or this earlier, but they can just call you. It doesn't have to be anything.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be anything. Anybody, any department employee can reach out to anybody on peer support.
Yeah.
I happen to be the face of the team.
Sure.
Most people know me. I'm at the academy a lot, so the cadets all know me, and I go places, and everybody knows who I am, and I'm not
Right.
really great at recognizing other people sometimes.
Well, there's
because
a
there's
lot.
so many.
There's a lot in this department. Sure.
About 1,000 people.
Yeah.
So I don't always connect well with how I know someone.
Right.
And so I look kind of dumb sometimes. But everyone seems to know me.
Yes.
And my name is the one that's on all the posters and all the contacts and on the business cards that we have.
Yep.
But they can contact anybody on the team. And right now, we finally finished, we had a project on it's part of the OPSC web page
Okay.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I am not the technology person.
Yeah.
Every team member has a picture and a bio and contact information.
Okay.
So people can take a look at who's on the team if they don't want to talk to somebody in their own area or they want to find out who's in their area. That's a great way to figure that out.
And it's very possible that they have people at their site that are part of that team that they would
Absolutely.
be comfortable talking to that they didn't even know were part of that team.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's a great resource as far as like, allowing people to be comfortable and look into.
Yes, it's all about what works for staff.
Sure.
Because that's what it's all about. Helping other people manage whatever's going on for them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the work that we do can be really impactful on our own mental health.
Sure.
Besides the long hours and some of the things that we see and do and have to do and experience can really wear on somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
So-
And so, like with any job, particularly law enforcement or law enforcement aligned,
Yes.
right? There's a lack of understanding from community and or family members where it's just kind of nice to have that ability to connect.
Yeah, just somebody that knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the 10 codes and
All of
and
that.
the acronyms that we use.
It's a whole different language.
Yeah, especially like doing a podcast. It's really interesting to be like, okay, I have to explain what that means.
Right.
Sometimes, so it's a fun experiment. So, what are some traits? This is kind of loaded, I guess, but
Okay.
we kind of talked about, the person who's not very nice to people in their real life, not a good fit for the team normally. What are some qualities in people that you see that either tend to want to join the team or tend to be successful?
We really look for the folks that people are already talking to.
Okay.
Every work site has that person or people that people are already talking to because
Yeah.
that's who they are and that's what they're about. We want folks who confidentiality is a huge piece of what we do.
Yeah.
We are confidential by statute, which is a big deal. We're the only peer support team in the state right now that has confidentiality.
Okay.
VSP is very jealous of that.
Sure. I bet.
Yeah, so it's a big deal. And what that means is we can't talk about what someone tells us
Sure.
outside of the normal mandatory reporting issues.
Which would be, like, do you have examples?
Threat to harm yourself or others. If
Okay.
you're abusing a vulnerable person. If you've committed a crime or plan to commit a crime.
Okay.
Those are the things that we need to actually do something with
Sure.
and report.
Yeah.
Because it's important.
But, yes, that is important.
Yeah.
But for the sake of confidentiality and when we're talking about what that looks like, it is also important that we're not spreading rumors, that
Oh.
we're not communicating about people's issues.
We don't
right?
we don't talk anything that we as a team talk about has no one's name is mentioned, because that's important. We don't want our stuff out there. No one wants their stuff out there, so
Right.
we're not gonna be putting stuff out there. And the other cool thing about having confidentiality by statute is if someone is on RFD, if they've been relieved from duty and they're suspended,
Thank you.
they get that letter. You're welcome.
Yeah.
That says they can't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
That's not 100% true. They
Yeah.
can talk to us. I think the letter says if you talk to anybody, they now become part of the investigation and
Sure.
all of that. And they can talk to us, and we're not part of the investigation.
Sure. But for
Which is
clarity,
helpful.
it's not about
It's not about what someone did or didn't do or what they're
Right.
accused of or
It's
any of that.
it's about how they're feeling.
How that is impacting them.
Yes.
It's really isolating
Yes.
when you are relieved from duty because you can't talk to anybody.
Right.
And everybody's working and you're just home waiting.
Right.
And we all know the investigative process sometimes takes a really long time.
It can, and there's legalities behind
There's all-
all of
yeah,
that.
there's
due
all that
process. So I guess yes, that's a valuable piece. Like, if anybody does find themselves in a position, because investigations happen, things
They
happen,
do.
allegations happen, whether it
Yes.
it is turns out to be true or not, that's
Right.
not necessarily what we're talking about. We're talking about it can be a hard situation, and despite guidance that you're not allowed to talk to people about the investigation, you can talk to peer support about how it feels.
Yes.
And so I think
And
that's
if-
a good resource.
Right. And if some of that leaks out of whatever the situation is, that's okay because we're confidential.
Right.
We're not focusing on that. We're focusing on how can we support you? How can we help you manage this? How can we help you not be so impacted by it?
Absolutely.
Mental health wise.
Because a lot of those people, I mean, they come back, and that's a hard transition in and of
That's
itself.
when you leave and when you come back are the two hugest
Sure.
pieces around that, because it's
And-
really weird.
And
for
why not
folks.
have extra support
Absolutely,
when going through
yeah.
that transition period,
Yeah.
just like with anything else.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you get a lot of calls. Correct me if I'm wrong. Death in the family.
All kinds of things. Relationship issues sometimes.
kids issues.
Kid issues. Any life sometimes is not easy, and
Yeah.
we're available to help guide folks with that and help them help themselves and provide resources and get them connected to the things that they need to be connected to.
Yes. So big or small, like it's
Doesn't,
just,
yeah,
you guys are there.
whatever it is that somebody needs, that's what we're here for.
And again, like, it's not like you're not a dead end shop. You don't call peer support and that's the end of the conversation.
We follow,
Unless it needs to be.
We follow up with folks,
Yeah.
it's
or
we're-
refer out. like
or
you talked
refer
about.
out. Yeah, we go, send folks to Lori and Beth if that's what they need.
Yep.
And they both have different resources than we might have immediately available, and can use those resources as well to guide people to get into whatever they need.
Right. That sounds, I mean, it sounds like a program that could always expand based on what resources.
Absolutely. We constantly, at our team meetings, one of the things that we do is team development.
Okay.
And that's how, when we're reviewing our processes and what's worked, what didn't work, what do we need to do? Oh, we didn't know we had this gap, so now how do we fill that gap? And just continuously, improve.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And we've worked together to recruitment and retention, right? 'Cause
Yes.
peer support and retention,
It's a big
they can
thing.
go hand in hand. So I'm glad we get the opportunity to share resources and communicate
Yes.
on solving problems as
Yeah.
they develop, or hopefully sometimes get ahead of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything I missed that you think is
Well,
important to talk about?
I don't know. I was just sort of looking at the cheat sheet here
Yeah.
to make sure that we got all that.
Yeah.
Peer support is only one aspect of wellness in the department.
Okay.
That was, see the question right
Yeah,
there?
yeah, it's right there. What other wellness things do we got going on?
So wellness in the department is a big project, and we try to focus on things other than mental health as well.
Sure.
Physical health, emotional health, spiritual, financial, all of those things. We're trying to sort of be that resource to try to connect people with some of those other things.
Yeah.
We've got all kinds of, there's the calendar.
The wellness calendar?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm brain
Yeah.
fart.
Yeah.
The wellness calendar, some people think it's kind of hokey, but really, if you're having some struggles, do some of those things that are on that.
Yeah.
Stand up and walk around for 5 minutes. And,
Right.
Some staff think, well, I can't really do that because I'm stuck at my post.
Right.
Do an extra unit tour.
Or
You're walking around.
yeah, if it
You
says
know?
take a nap, wait until you
get home. Right.
Or on the weekend, it's not
Right. It's
subjected
not a
to
do
the
it
moment that you read that.
right? We've got the Live Well stuff,
Yeah.
which is great. Lots of, challenges, health challenges and wellness challenges. All those kinds of things are really beneficial. And peer support, we're sort of the front runners of all of the wellness things.
Yeah.
And part of what we try to do is connect folks. We always remind folks about how are you taking care of yourself?
Yeah.
If somebody calls and they're calling about being stressed out about something, so how are you taking, have you eaten?
Right.
When was the last time you ate?
Yes.
What's your sleep schedule like?
Right.
Those kinds, because we forget.
Yeah.
When
the day-to-day grind
Yeah.
gets in the way sometimes.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And we forget to take care of ourselves because
Yeah.
we're so busy doing the work that we do. And sometimes it's many, many hours in a row. And we forget because we're just trying to survive the next day.
Right.
And I think that happens everywhere,
Sure.
in every occupation.
Yeah, so it's good. I mean, like when we talk about encompassing, it's good. Peer support is a great resource.
Yes.
There are also other things that you can do before needing to reach out to peer support on a day-to-day basis that can improve
Absolutely.
your wellness. And I
Absolutely.
think acknowledging that is the first step, right?
It is. It's hard sometimes, I think, for folks to really connect the dots with that.
Sure.
But how we take care of ourselves on a regular basis is important. And we're not just a response team. We also try to do what we call pre-incident training,
Okay.
which is really just reminding folks about how to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And we do there's a lot of us who are involved with the traumatic stress management trainings.
Yep.
We're instructors, which is a pretty good resource, and spread that around so that folks know what to look for, so they know that maybe they're headed into some maybe danger zones,
Sure.
if you will, and who they can reach out to.
And that starts at the academy.
Starts at the academy.
All new staff get that, and I think,
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong, it's an annual training.
It should be if it isn't.
I heard it was just the other day. So I think that is accurate, that once a year that's provided to all staff.
And folks on the team incorporate some of the aspects from that when we're talking with folks.
Yep.
So that we're always reminding folks about taking good care of themselves, because
Sure.
that's important. If we don't take care of ourselves, no one else is going to do it.
Right.
And there's so many other things that happen in this career field that
And
taking
life.
care of yourself is important.
And life on
Yeah.
that, there's work and then there's not work.
Right.
And all of it can be stressful for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And we're going to keep building on all the wellness strategies. We just did a mapping exercise
Yes.
this week.
Yes, we did.
So
yes, we did.
We're
So
looking to expand or just expand the thought process around it and or new ideas. So
we're always open to new ideas and how to improve and what is going to be most beneficial for staff, because it's about staff. If we don't have staff, we've got nothing. And,
Absolutely.
And not just staff, but healthy staff.
Yep.
In all the aspects,
Yep.
because that's who's running our stuff.
Yep.
And if we aren't healthy, how's that going to work?
Right.
Yeah. If
100%.
Yeah. If your car is not got oil in it, it's going to not work.
Right.
We're the
Doesn't matter
oil.
how much gas there's there.
That's right. You got to have the oil to make the engine work.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm proud of the work that the department's doing in regards to that, and
I am as well.
I'm glad that we got an opportunity to talk about
Yeah.
it. Was there more stuff, or do we think we got a pretty good handle?
I think that's a lot of it. I don't think there's much missing. I'm just sort of whizzing through the questions that you sent that you might want to be asking me, and it looks like we covered it all.
Yeah. Well, I think the important thing, with a focus on this being peer support, hopefully everybody has a better understanding of what the job is,
Yes.
what the application process looks like,
Yes.
right, and how beneficial it is to the team that we are. Because department-wide, there's those microcosms of our facility, this facility, that field site. But as a department, in its entirety, we all want what's best for everyone.
Yes. The other
And
thing
this is a good team for that.
that's really great about us is we're 24/7.
Yeah.
So if you're a night shift person, we've got night shift people.
Yeah.
So there's always someone available. I'm the point person. I'm a 24/7 shop. That's my gig, and people reach out to me all hours of the day and night, and I try to be as responsive as possible. When someone gets to the point where they're actually asking for some help, it's a pretty narrow window
Yeah.
of opportunity for us to be impactful around that.
Yeah, for sure.
If you call your mechanic because you got a flat tire and they tell you, I'll see you next Tuesday, yeah, okay, that's not helping me right now.
Right.
And right now is when I need the help.
Yeah.
So
sure.
we try to respond to that as quickly as possible.
And that's why I think it's great that, you know, you have 27 people, it's regionalized, you have a lot of people on the team. Always probably more is better.
More is better.
Right?
More is better. I would love to have 2 people on every shift in every work site.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Right now, we have at least one person in all the facilities.
Yep.
I would love to have more because there's 4 teams at the facilities, so it would be great if I could have a person from each of those teams
Yeah.
to be available. That people have a lot to do, and
Yeah.
they guard their time.
And some
Right
people-
now.
And it's okay if people just aren't interested
Yeah,
in
and that's
being
fine.
that.
Yeah, it's
that
not
team member.
it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yep.
You know, and if you're interested in support of staff, but you don't really want to be the person that talks to people, and you happen to be good with IT, we can use you.
Yeah, here's the pitch.
Here's the pitch, because I'm not allowed to touch anything.
Right.
Because I break it.
Yes. So pamphlets and putting together
Pamphlets,
PowerPoints,
posters, PowerPoints,
all the things.
all of those things. I'm not allowed to touch them because I break them.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So if you want to help and that's more your style, then
There's a place on the team.
absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I think we'll wrap it up. I
All right.
appreciate you coming in and having
Yeah.
that conversation, and hopefully,
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
yes, I hope you enjoyed the experience. And,
Yes.
And I learned some stuff, so hopefully everybody did.
Great. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.